Hi, I'm Sathi Roy. Welcome to my series, Conversations with Phoenix. Direct, powerful, and unfiltered discussions on humanity, the universe, relationships, and the cycles of transformation.
The word Hindu is so charged and it's changed. Was it always that way? Well, I guess you said it is a newer term.
It is. Usually Sanatana Dharma, that actually incorporated many different traditions within it. Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism, they're all under the umbrella of Sanatana Dharma. They're all different paths that help us to understand who we are. But as the Western elements came in, it became more dogmatic. Because we are trained in the Western understandings of one God, one way, eternal health. So this idea of my God is better than your God, my philosophy is better than your philosophy, started to sink in. And then that started to create divide. Right? Because Sanatana Dharma actually it's a way of life. Right? It's a way to help us, how do we live our life? Not just when we're in a temple worshiping a deity, but what do we do when we're at home? Right? How do we do our dharma? How do we share love? How do we interact with our friends and our families? Right? So it's a whole way of life. And we see that in most religions. Look at Christianity, right? People come to church every Sunday, they do a confession, and they talk about their sins, but then the next day they go and do the exact same thing. Right? If you don't change, what's the point?
Totally.
If you come to the temple to pray to the deity for this or that, what do you think is going to happen if you pray and say, please God, let my child get married? God will bless you. Then what you're going to ask for? Please God, let my child have grandchildren. Right? So it just goes on and on and on and on. It's better just to say, hey, let me understand who I am. When you understand that, then everything else is given automatically.
So I've been asked, what is my definition of spirituality a lot? And whether it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or today, I have the same answer, which is an understanding of oneself.
Exactly.
And what you were saying, the examples you were giving, okay, have my daughter get married, right? I want to get into this school. These are milestones or tasks or things that you want. So I also think the purpose of the practices have become lost, right? The purpose of prayer, or which I don't even call prayer anymore because of what people associate prayer with. Like prayer is asking for something, when that's not how we should speak to a part of us, which is, our connection to what we feel is that higher source, deity, person, whoever.
Yeah, prayer can be asking to understand oneself. In the Bhagavad Gita, the avatar Krishna speaks about 4 different ways of approaching the divine. And he says the first way is when somebody approaches the divine for help. Right? I'm sick, I don't feel good, God, please cure me. The second is when we approach God because we want to gain something material. I want to get rich, I want to do this, that. The third is I approach the divine because I want to understand the divine. And by definition, understand who I am. And then the fourth is one who understands the divine and approaches accordingly. So even when you become enlightened, it doesn't mean you stop going to the temple. You go for a completely different perspective, right? Complete different experience. So those are the 4 different ways of how humans in Sanatana Dharma approach the divine, either for help, material wellness, to know the divine, and if I know the divine, how do I interact with it? And so for most Hindus, they're stuck in levels 1 and 2. They never go to 2 and 3. And so for us, what you see here, a lot of the teachings that we do is about helping people to go to 2 and 3, 3 and 4, to understand who is the divine. And then when you understand, how do you act accordingly?
And the irony is that levels 1 and 2 are taken care of. Right?
Exactly.
Everything's taken care of. And that's such a special part about having some sort of a faith system, spiritual belief. No matter what it is, And that's another thing that I actually really love about, what Hinduism so how do you refer to Hinduism actually? How do you refer?
Vedic tradition.
Vedic tradition. So one thing I really love about the Vedic traditions is that it did not ever say this is the one and only.
Yeah.
And everything else is wrong. And everybody else who's not on this wavelength is missing out, and they're going to feel it, but you guys are good.
Yeah, I mean, that
strange belief.
Exactly. Literally the first sentence in the Vedas is Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vedanti, which means the truth is one, but the wise describe it in many ways. That's literally the foundation of the Vedic tradition.
And I think that people have that mentality with their religion because they have found connection. And because they have found connection, it's made profound impact on them. And because it's made profound impact on them, they want others to experience that. So I understand the desire to get people to practice what you feel is going to work for them. I understand the desire to believe that it is the ultimate and only because it's been true for their lives.
Yeah, and also imagine if I believed in a tradition where I thought this was only one life. And it's either you go to heaven or hell. If I love you, I'm going to try everything that I can
Totally.
to try and convert you. So it's not a bad thing. It's just the mindset is if I don't convert this person, they're going to be in hell eternally. And so I could understand that feeling. But in Sanatana Dharma, we're all going to go back to the source. We all came from the source. We all come back to the source. If you want this life or next life, it doesn't really matter.
That's a good point. That's a good point that you bring up, that philosophically we're coming from two different places, because the factual thought is that this is the only chance you have to go into a better place for eternity. And so therefore, of course, I'm going to do whatever I can, say whatever I can so that I can save you. So I totally do understand it. But at the same time, when you know something is true, you don't actually have to assert it. Because if somebody is exposed and then takes it as far as they want to take it, they will experience it. And so that's what I like about the Vedic, philosophy, is that, ultimately the things that I've experienced are very true, right? And I've seen the things that are in the Vedas, right? I've seen it reflected in so many different ways, from physics, I can explain it scientifically. I can explain it, and I can name a bunch of philosophers that have talked about it, right? We see it everywhere. And therefore, there's a knowing that it's true, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to prove it, because it has to be experienced.
And also, even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, don't try and convince anybody anything. Just live a life of love and inspire them through that.
Embody it.
That's it. And that's all you have to do. If you live a life of love, then automatically people will be inspired by your actions. But if you try and convince somebody to do this or that, nobody's going to listen to you.
Right.
Because a lot of times people also, people are not stupid. They feel the sincerity.
Yeah.
If they feel like there's not that sincerity, they're not going to listen.
Right.